So I wanted to
man.
get Bradley on specifically to talk about the fallacious and laughable arguments against the bill that those few pro-choice ladies got on after you guys and brought up. And I mean, I literally was like, this is the best they got. I mean, it was clearly, they're just trying to, create this false narrative against this bill, which was a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
So,
it's awful.
And I want to get Joy's take at some point too. I know I've been asking Brian a lot of questions. So Bradley, can you quickly, explain what was said by those women and why it's just like a complete farce and why that's what they said was absolutely false?
Yeah, well, where do I begin? I mean, there's so many things that they were saying that were just out of left field. I mean, as far as just total falsehoods, they were they're saying that the bill, could subject mothers to prosecution even for miscarriage, which is absolutely not true, right? I mean, we already have homicide laws that apply to people who are born, and there are people who die every day, and people who die at home, and people are not prosecuted just because an accident happens or people die of natural death, and that's going to be the same thing under this bill, right? I mean, natural death, accidents, none of that is outlawed by this bill whatsoever. So that was one of the most glaring of the mistakes for making.
Yeah,
purposeful mistake.
Yeah, there was a few things, man, but I mean, in all honesty, these are things we have to be prepared to deal with.
Oh yeah,
because this is the mounting narrative that's going to be built up against all that we're trying to do.
Yeah,
things like prosecution for miscarriage, the separation of church and state. The supremacy clause of the Constitution, the fact that, federal law trumps state law, so you can't do what you're doing at the state level, all of these fallacious things that we hear all the time. We just have to be prepared to deal with them because they're coming. The opposition knows or seemingly knows where this is headed and that it has momentum and traction. And so the narrative is going to come and these objections are coming. We got to be prepared to deal with it.
Yeah, especially even next week as we're waiting to hear when the bill's going to be on the floor there. Expect more of those arguments. I think the other big thing was that I forgot about that one, actually, Bradley. I'm glad you brought that up. The other big one was the IVF. And I think if I remember correctly, the lady that even brought it up, I was like, at first I was like, is she pro-life? Like when she first started, because she was talking about how blessed she was.
I thought that at first
to have a child through IVF, and she mentioned her partner, so she probably was a lesbian. But at first I was like, what is happening right now? And then she uses that to then say that this bill is going to not allow for IVF and stuff, and so anyways, if you can speak to that, Bradley, because I think that was an important point as well.
Yeah, and absolutely, the bill would not outlaw or prohibit IVF. It would just require for IVF doctors to change their procedures, right, to only create as many embryos as they're going to implant. And so IVF can continue. It just means that they have to change their procedures. They don't get to just, pick the best lives and then just discard the rest or donate them to science or stick them in a freezer. No, they have to implant them, and they have to, they can't just treat them like their property or like they're garbage anymore.
Yeah.
They have to treat them ethically. So IVF can still continue and people can still do that. They just have to change the procedure, and it has to be more protective of these lives.
Yeah,
that's really important.
Now, Bradley, one other thing that people are saying is that this bill prescribes the death penalty for the mother. So are you saying that you just want to execute women with this bill that get abortions? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely not. I mean, the bill doesn't even mention death penalty, right? The bill is simply about making the same laws that apply to born people like you and me also apply to people before they're born. And, what are the penalties in the state right now for homicide? Well, then, those would be the available penalties for homicide of a person before they're born. But as far as what those penalties end up being, that's not really up to the bill. It's not really up to the legislature. That's for juries to decide cases on a case-by-case basis. We already have a justice system that we trust to handle that and to be fair and to consider all, be sympathetic and consider all those different factors. And And that would the same justice system that we trust to protect born people would be the same one that we trust to protect these people before they're born.
So big. It's so big because this is the main thing. Just to sum it up here, just to kind of hammer it home, this bill doesn't establish penalties. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to remove the discriminatory exceptions that allow for the murder, homicide of a preborn child, and in particular at the hands of their mother, because right now we have this protected class of people in all of these states. There is legal immunity for a mother to murder her child because she has complete protection to do so because of these exceptions that discriminate against babies in the womb. And so what this does is say no exceptions, no partiality. The child in the womb receives the same protections as everybody else, just like a mother that would kill her born child.
Yes, amen.
Well, and can I add one more thing to that?
Yeah, go.
More specifically, what it could look like would be, prosecutors can prosecute there. They can charge, the maximum, or they can pick some lesser charge. They could pick anything from, capital felony down to a class B misdemeanor. It could be even a fine or 1 day in jail or no jail or community service, or they could give the mothers immunity to testify against the abortionist, right? To where she has no, criminal consequences whatsoever. And that's, the bill allows for all of that because those are the things that are available, when it comes to born people. So that's the same justice system that we want for preborn people as well. Equal protection across the board.